few topics in law is straight to the point, and there are few other topics on which you can go on and on and on, and one such subject is the rights of women in India. I am not here to speak on and on or hours together. I am going to cover between 10 to 15 minutes because I have to give maximum to my students in minimal timeline. So this is my effort to discuss on the rights of women in India. Hey guys, welcome to my legal classes. This is Ganesh Pujari, and in the series of vulnerable groups on women, we have already had one video which is rights of women as a global scenario. In this video too, I am going to focus all about women's right in India. We are going to discuss fundamental rights, DPSP, all the other laws, everything is there in one presentation, and we are starting the discussion by various timelines. Why to waste time? Let's get on to the first slide. Women had different status in different timeline in India, so we are going to understand different timeline and different status. What are the different timelines? I am going to discuss the ancient period, medieval period, British period, and post-independent India. In the ancient period, there was pre-Vedic period, post-Vedic period, Smritis period, all those stuff. Initially, it was good status for women, then it got into bad situation, and later part, it became further worse situation. Whereas in the medieval period, there was Muslim invasion. With that, we also got Pada system, polygamy started, child marriage started, sati was there, no widow remarriage, no education to girl child, and girl child was symbol of poverty during this medieval period. And then comes the British period, from where the status of women in India started getting improved. The contribution was mainly coming from Raja Ram Mohan Roy and Dayanand Saraswati, along with their Brahmo Samaj and Arya Samaj. And remember, Raja Ram Mohan Roy was one of the biggest fighter to remove sati system in India. You can also quote the name of Dr. Annie Besant, who contributed to a greater extent to improve the status of women in India. Remember, Indian Penal Code also got into existence during British period, that was in the year 1860. Now, the post-independent India, we all got fundamental rights, polygamy came to an end, and child marriage also came to an end, sati system was abolished, widow remarriage started, free and compulsory education became the part of DPSP of the constitution, and women started getting share in the property via Succession Act. These are the few important aspects you can mention when it comes to different timelines with different status of women in India. Remember, during British period, the contribution of women also was in a very great extent in the form of Kitturu Chennamma or Jhansi Ki Rani Lakshmi Bai, etc. There are many laws in India, and I have made this slide for you guys as a reference where there are rights given to Indian women or protection given to Indian women. So this is the list of important laws and acts which are covering the women rights. They are the Indian Penal Code 1860, Constitution of India 1950, Special Marriage Act 1954, the Immoral Traffic Prevention Act 1956, the Dowry Prohibition Act 1961, the Maternity Benefit Act 1961, Indian Divorce Act 1969, the Medical Termination of Pregnancy Act 1971, the Code of Criminal Procedure 1973, Equal Remuneration Act 1976, Indecent Representation of Women Prevention Act 1986, National Commission for Women Act 1990, the Preconception and Postnatal Diagnostic Techniques Prohibition and Sex Selection Act 1994, Protection of Women from Domestic Violence Act 2005, the Prohibition of Child Marriage Act 2006, the Sexual Harassment of Women at Workplace Prevention, Prohibition and Redressal Act 2013, the Criminal Law Amendment Act 2013, which happened on the Indian Penal Code, and several labor laws. These are all the list of laws or acts which are protecting the women's rights or protecting the women herself. So this you can keep as a reference. So now let us start discussing on the rights of women in India, and I am starting the discussion from part 3 of Indian Constitution, which is fundamental rights. And the first right of women, I am starting from Article 14, which is all about equality before law. This very clearly prohibits of any kind of discrimination on the ground of religion, race, caste, sex or place of birth. So there should not be any kind of discrimination on these 5 grounds. The first case law that I am taking here is Air India versus Nargesh Mirza. What happened here? Air India had one clause saying that if a woman is getting pregnancy, that can be a reason for termination. They basically had 3 clauses. One, on attaining the age of 35. 2, on marriage if it took place within 4 years of the service, and on first pregnancy. These were the 3 reasons on which an employee could be terminated. Now, this was the clause which was discussed in Supreme Court of India. When I say this was a clause, on first pregnancy was what discussed, and Supreme Court struck down the provisions of the rules which stipulated the condition that services shall be terminated on her first pregnancy as unconstitutional. So that was void. The second case law that you can refer is Maya Devi versus State of Maharashtra, where the requirement that a married woman should obtain her husband's consent before applying for public employment was held invalid and unconstitutional. Now, if a man is applying for a government job or public employment, is he going to take consent from women or his wife? No. When man is not taking permission from his wife, why should wife take permission from her husband? That was what discussed, and as a point of equality, it was held it was invalid as well as unconstitutional. So there is no need of taking any kind of consent before applying for public employment. This is the first right that you need to remember. The second article that we are going to discuss here is Article 15. Before getting into discussion on Article 15, we need to remember that equality among equals is okay. But if there is a weaker section, then it is a responsibility of the state to uplift such weaker section, which is what exactly discussed under 15.3. Now, what does 15 say? It is about prohibition of discrimination on grounds of religion, race, caste, sex or place of birth. It basically prohibits any kind of discrimination. However, 15.3 says nothing in this article shall prevent the state from making any special provision for women and children. Why so? Because these are the weaker section, and for the upliftment of such weaker section, states can make special provision. That is what exactly we need to understand here. I have 2 case laws here. The first one is Rajesh Kumar Gupta versus State of UP, which is about reservation for school teachers. There were certain amount of government schools and the students were mostly belonging to female category, which was more than 50%, and they were all below 10 years. And it was held in this case that if majority is girls and if they are below 10 years, it is always good to have female teachers. So it is okay to keep 50% reservation for the female teachers. The second case law was Gayatri Devi Bansari versus State of Orissa, where it was upheld the government of Orissa's order reserving 30% quota for a woman in the allotment of 24-hour medical stores as a part of self-employment schemes. So this is the second case law you can refer. The next article that we are going to discuss is Article 16, which is about equality of opportunity in matters of public employment. This article very clearly prohibits any kind of discrimination in taking public employment on the basis of religion, race, caste, sex, etc. Here the important case law that you can refer is C.B. Muttama versus Union of India, which discussed about the validity of Rule 8.2 of Indian Foreign Service Conduct and Discipline Rules 1961. Under this act, a woman can join the government of Indian Foreign Service, and before joining she has to very clearly mention her marital status, and if she is not married, and while she is in service, if she is going to get married, she has to give information to the department. And only if the department feels that she can discharge the service even after her marriage, she could have continued, or if the government was feeling that she is unable to discharge her duties because of her marital commitment, in that case she could have been terminated. Now this was held unconstitutional because if the same would have happened with men, there were no such rules available. So there was no equality, and it is the violation of fundamental rights which is unconstitutional, which is prejudicial to women. That way it was decided that the same has to be removed because it is not in the line to Article 16. The last fundamental right I am going to refer in this video is Article 19(1)(g), which is about to practice any profession or to carry on any occupation, trade or business, and to protect the women in workplace. The important case law that you can refer is Visakha versus State of Rajasthan, which brought the act, that is Sexual Harassment of Women at Workplace Prevention, Prohibition and Redressal Act 2013. I have discussed the case law of Visakha in my playlist IPC. You can refer my video on section 375 where you will get all the details pertaining to Visakha versus State of Rajasthan. Now let us discuss a little bit on the part 4 of Indian Constitution, that is Directive Principle of State Policy, or in short DPSP, and I am starting the discussion from Article 39, which discusses about certain principles of policy to be followed by the state. It says there should be equality between men and women when it comes to right to an adequate means to livelihood, or there should be equality between men and women equally when it comes to ownership and control of the material resources, or there should be equality between men and women when it comes to equal pay for equal work. These are the important provisions we need to remember when it comes to Article 39. The second article, that is Article 41, discusses about right to work, to education and to public assistance in certain cases where there is equal opportunity for women also available. And then Article 42 is about provision for just and humane condition of work and maternity relief. It discusses about the working conditions as well as maternity relief. And finally Article 45, which discusses about a very important provision, that is free and compulsory education for children, which gives the right to girl child in India to get education. Now one case law that you can refer is Ranveer Singh versus Union of India, where the court held that even though equal pay for equal work is not a fundamental right, but is certainly a constitutional goal and therefore capable of being enforced. Now we have already discussed in my previous page that there should be equal pay for equal work, and that is what held in this case law. It referred, yes, DPSP is not fundamental right, but it is constitutional goal, and that way slowly over a period of time we need to achieve everything that is given under DPSP also. So that's all about the Indian Constitution. Now let us look other laws in India when it comes to the rights of women. The first section that I am going to discuss is section 125 of CRPC, which discusses about maintenance of wife, children and parents, and this particular section protects the interests of wife, which is a woman. Now one important case law that you can refer when it comes to section 125 of CRPC is Shabano's case, which is Mohammedan Ahmad Khan versus Shabano Begum, which started all discussion on Uniform Civil Code, which is one of the important article from DPSP also. Now there is polygamy available among Muslims, but if Uniform Civil Code comes, then it can bring uniformity in India as far as marriages are concerned. That might be one important aspect we need to remember. The second section that I am discussing here is section 375 of Indian Penal Code. Section 375 discusses about rape, and there were several amendments on this particular section, and two important amendments came in the last decade, that is the Criminal Law Amendment Act 2013 and the Criminal Law Amendment Act 2018. Both are the result of Nirbhaya rape case or the Delhi rape case, and I have all the details on this particular case law in my playlist Indian Penal Code in the presentation on section 375. You can refer the same. These amendments brought lot of protection for the rape victims. The third section that I am referring here is section 354 from Indian Penal Code, which discusses about modesty of women. One important and interesting case law that you can refer here is Rupan Diol Bajaj versus KP Singh Gill. Now what happened here? KP Singh touched the back portion of Rupan Diol, who was an officer. Now she put a case against KP Singh, but in the High Court, KP Singh argued that it was a matter of trivial because he just touched her back portion. However, Supreme Court held that no matter is trivial when modesty of women is in question. So that is what held in this case law. One of the biggest challenge faced by Indian women is acid attacks, and there were no serious provisions in IPC as far as victims of acid attacks are concerned or the punishment for those acid attackers. But later there were two major amendments came in. They are section 326A and 326B. I have 6 case laws here. In the first 3 case laws I have discussed the silly reasons for acid attacks, and then the last 3 case laws are discussing about what are the improvements that are happened after 326A and 326B. Let us look one by one. The first case law, that is Marepalli Venkata Sri Nagesh versus State of AP. In this case law, the accused was suspicious about the character of his wife, and for that he inserted mercury chloride into her vagina and later she died. The second case law, that is Devanand versus the state, a man threw acid on his wife because she refused to cohabit with him. The third case law is Jalahalli Police Station versus Joseph Rodriguez, where the accused threw acid on a girl because she refused his job offer. These are the reasons for which people did acid attack on the women. Though there were several cases of acid attacks in India, there were no serious regulations for the same, and then came the case law Lakshmi versus Union of India. This is one of the landmark judgment as far as acid attacks are concerned, where the Supreme Court held that there should be 3 lakh compensation for the rehabilitation of the victims. Whether this is followed is still a question. Most of the states are yet to make rules on the same. In the same PIL, acid ban was requested, but it is yet to happen. The second case law, that is Parivartan Kendra versus Union of India, the free medical care, rehabilitative services and adequate compensation was requested, and the court held that the same shall be provided. However, free medical care in private hospitals for the acid victims is still not a possible thing or achieved thing because it involves a lot of cost and there is no serious regulation on the same. The third case law, the state of Maharashtra versus Ankur Panwar or Preeti Rati case, the person who was attacked with acid was given death punishment in this particular case law. So you can remember that judgment also. That is all about acid attacks and the protection of women. Section 312 of IPC discusses about voluntarily causing miscarriage, which is also an offense which is punishable. These are the few important aspects that you can mention when it comes to women and other laws in India, or the right of women which are being protected, or women protected with other laws in India. Now finally we have to match Indian women's right versus the elimination of all forms of discrimination, which was discussed in the convention which happened in the year 1979 in New York. Whether we are matching them or not. Now there were 7 major articles discussed in that particular convention which happened in the year 1979, and let's just try compare with Indian scenario. The first one, right to education. Yes, It is the part of Indian Directive Principle of State Policy of the Constitution. And then right to employment. Yes, in India we have equality among men and women when it comes to employment, which is again discussed under Article 14, 15 and 16. We have discussed in detail. Right to healthcare, yeah, we have Maternity Benefit Act, which takes care of pregnant women, and there are several other acts also. Right to economic and social life, yeah, we have Act on Domestic Violence. We have opportunity for women to enter into any kind of trade, commerce, etc., which is also given under Article 19, which is about freedom of speech and expression, and I have referred Article 19(1)(g) also in the presentation. And then women in rural areas, if I have to give the example, in panchayat election which are happening in rural areas, there is reservation available for women candidates. That is one example we can quote. Along with that, there is lot of self-help groups coming in rural areas for the economic development of the same. Equality before law, we have already discussed Article 14, 15, 16 in this presentation itself. And right to marriage and family relations, you can refer Hindu Marriage Act or the Succession Act, Article 125 of CRPC, or the offences related to marriage, which is the part of Indian Penal Code. All of that are protecting the rights of women in India. That way, in a gist, we can say that the Convention on the Elimination of All Forms of Discrimination Against Women, which happened in the year 1979 in New York, was taken care by India with the help of several acts. That can be your conclusive statement. In India, we believe that Yatru Naryastu Pujyante Ramante Tatra Devataha. Now, we have to respect women, we have to take care of women, we have to ensure that women is participating in all the activities, including the Army, Navy and Air Force. There is a big fight going in that space also. And with that, I am concluding this particular video. I hope the content is little overloaded, so take whatever you feel like. With that, I am concluding. Thank you so much for subscribing my channel. Please like, share and comment my videos. All the very best for whatsoever purpose you are referring my channel, and thanks again.